Hello artists. So I'm going to go over how you can make some fairly decent clouds on a painted paper. If you choose to do this, make sure that you ask me for a thicker piece of paper so that your painting turns out even better. And then the paints that I'm going to be working with today are just dark blue, which I already used, and I've painted my sky. It's nice and damp right now. Light blue and white. Although those aren't the only colors that you could use. The best recommendation I can give you to paint clouds is to actually look at them. So on a nice cloudy day where the clouds are really fluffy, look and see what colors you see, because I guarantee you're going to see more than blue and white. That being said, I'm using blue and white. So before I do any of this, I bet you can see I'm holding the toothbrush. So I'm going to use that toothbrush trick to add some stars in, making sure to dampen my toothbrush, dry it off, use just a very small amount of white. I rubbed most of it off, and I'm going to flick some stars into my night sky, although you could do a daytime too. As a matter of fact, I just tried that and it worked nicely as well. And then with my paintbrush, I have a wet paintbrush that I was just using again. I chose this flat one just because I like the way it covers a lot of area, and I like that I can make really flat things as well. So to start, clouds, those really fluffy ones, did I already say this? I can't remember. They're often triangular shape. If you really look at those fluffy ones, they're not, they're almost triangular. I'm going to kind of like swoosh mine around the side to make it more artsy. And the way you start is basically with your color of your sky. So I'm putting just blue on my brush for now. And the only thing I'm doing is kind of swooshing it to lay down like a form of where I would like my form of my clouds to go. So think about where you would like your clouds to go. And you might not even be able to see this. The only difference between this and the other paint is this paint's wet and the other paint's getting a little drier. Okay. So I started with the same color I used for my sky. Now I'm going to take that same color, my night sky, and I'm going to make it just a smidge lighter. So I'm going to experiment and actually add a little bit of just the other blue into it, and a little bit of white, and it's almost just as dark. And going along towards the top, I'm going to put more swoosh marks. And my messy art strokes that I like to use are kind of like X's. I kind of am making little X's. And again, you can barely tell. Clouds are about layers, and you add layer upon layer. The underneath part of the cloud is where it's darkest, and usually towards the top of the cloud it gets the lightest. So now I made a new batch, adding just a little bit of white and going along towards the top of my clouds, sometimes in the middle. Can you barely see it? All right, using that same blue mixture, again, I'm gonna take some more white into it. Again, it's layering, adding smidgen of white, a little bit at a time. Okay, adding a little more white into that same mixture. You can barely change the difference, but when you lay it down, it does look a little different. And when I'm laying it down, again, I'm kind of making squiggles and X's. And I'm going really fast too, which isn't necessarily the best idea. More white. Trying to think of the forms. There's my triangular shape. It's kind of a wonky triangle. It's not all on the paper. Sometimes I leave it more dark on purpose. So you can even add more white bits kind of in the center. Making these type of where the edges of the clouds are, and then blending that part in. Blending, I know I make look easy. Blending is not easy. It's practice that I've been blending. So a light edge, and after the light edge, blend it in. Adding more white, never just using just plain white. Make my bright edge. Blend my bright edge in. Maybe you want a new bright edge. You're like, oh, I want to add a ripple right there. Well, then blend it in a little bit. Adding just a little bit by little bit. Bright edges. And when you start to be like, wow, I kind of like the way my clouds are going, then you do want to take some, again, white, and you want to go along the very edge. And this sometimes you have to wait till it's a little bit more sticky. That's why I like these straight ones, because they allow straight lines. Do you see how I have it's really bright there and just blend it in a little bit? If I was making a day sky, then this white would have the babiest amount of yellow in it, generally. If I was making a sunset sky, then it'd be pink or something like that. But because it's night, I could just use white. And I'm not forgetting to blend in where it goes into the cloud. And the blending works well because it's wet right now. So that's the only reason I can blend so well. All right. Again, I thank you for your patience watching this. I hope it's kind of mesmerizing for you. I think watching clouds being painted is kind of magical. My swooshy line, blend the bottom half that's going into the cloud, not the sharp half that's the edge of that bit of the cloud. And then for added interest, I'm going to add a crescent moon. Tracing a circle is probably a better idea. But there you have it. I hope you enjoy this. This is an excellent background, especially if you're interested in other things. Maybe you want to make a hot air balloon with a character holding onto it, or a paper airplane flying through the sky with a Care Bear sitting in it. I have no idea. The possibilities are endless, and they are yours, and I am excited to see what you make. Happy arting today.